Actually, I do not have one for Robert's Report yet, but I have one for Robert's Entertainment. All right, Mark, there's about a 5-minute warm up here that gives people time to log in. So as soon as that's over, then I'll go into the regular interview or regular intro. Yeah, anybody that follows me will they'll get a notification, and then there's also a local group I have. There's about 30,000 people in it that also get that I also broadcast in as well. No, I wish. I haven't got that detailed yet. Yep, me too, man. Lots of walking.
studios in South Parkersburg, West Virginia. This is Robert's Report, your leader in combat sports and rock music. And now, your host of Robert's Report, Craig Vegas Roberts.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Robert's Report. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Did a few tweaks on the audio, and hopefully the video looks a lot better this week as well. I found out on apparently on one of my upgrades that the system did not transfer over to high def whenever I did the upgrade. So we are now in 720p, high tech stuff here. Go ahead and go through a couple things here. Rock news. Had a report from Frankie Benelli from Quiet Riot. He's still fighting the pancreatic cancer. Doing well from the tell of the posts or whatever. One of the things he did urge people to make sure you go get tested and screened and all that kind of good stuff. Actually, this kind of hits close to home to myself because we've got pancreatic cancer in our family, actually on both my side and my wife's side as well. So, good thing to do right there. Good advice from Frank Manali, a legend in the rock business. Some more rock news as well. We had, of course, Metallica is off the Sonic Festival and also off of Louder Than Life Festival. James Hetfield felt like he needed to go back into rehab, I guess, and get better. Thoughts and prayers to go out to James Hetfield. Hopefully he can get straightened out and be rocking again with Metallica. And just a little bit of news here around UFC. I apologize. I was unable to watch the fight night that was on last night, so I do know that a shout out to my Facebook friend Grant Dawson on there. He got the W with rear naked choke. He's doing very well. Hope to see him on one of the main cards here down the road. This week we got UFC 248 coming up with Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero. That ought to be a barn burner. Izzy is quite the martial artist. Got some other ones on there too. Johanna Jacek's going to be on there. Neil Magny and Alex Oliveira. There's several other ones on that card too. So make sure you watch out for that this Saturday, March the 7th. We'll actually be in Vegas not for that fight. We're actually going to be in Vegas. We'd had plans to go before the fight announced, but we are going to go see Bruno Mars. So, all right. So, appreciate everybody joining us here. We've got a kind of a special edition today. Normally we are at 6 p.m., but we wanted to, I really wanted to make this interview happen here with band, and I have to be quite honest with you. I have always listened to the KIX music. I love KIX, but didn't really realize how well their chemistry was together and how awesome they are live until we got to see them at M3 Festival last year. And that was actually the first time we went to M3. And I think, memory serves me correct, they've kicked off the M3 Festival for several years now. And if you haven't gotten a chance to go see them live, I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. If you put on any of the KIX albums, and you can pretty much listen to them front to back, all the way back from the 80s and 80s forward, pretty much. Of course, Blow My Fuse was their biggest one. It went platinum. The album hit 46 on the top 200 chart, and a huge song came off of that, Don't Close Your Eyes. And So we got the pleasure today to sit down with Mark Schenker. Did I pronounce that correctly, Mark? Okay, excellent. All right, all right. So Mark Schenker with KIX, and I've got to kick his audio on here so everybody can hear and see him. One of these days, whenever I get rich and get cool sponsors and everything, maybe I'll hire a sound guy, and I won't have to do all this extra stuff. But let's see. All right, we are on, and if somebody out there in Facebook land can confirm that, oh, actually, I got to go to the right screen here. God. Somebody out there in Facebook land can confirm that you can hear me okay. And Mark, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, and I'm still getting your video up here, but and boom, there's Mark. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good. Good to be here.
We appreciate you taking the time out of, and I didn't realize till after I got your email on just how busy you really are. And I mean, I know, most people have, a lot of people don't realize there are lives outside of rock and roll, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this time of year is pretty busy for Kicks because we're gone doing the Monsters of Rock cruise, and so we're, you know, in and out of town basically quite a bit this time of year. So this was a good day. It's a bright sunny day here in Virginia, so no makeup needed.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad here either. It was when we woke up, it was in the 20s this morning, but it's starting to,
20s.
yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, we're used to that this time of the year, though.
Mhm.
We're getting ready to go out into the 70s and upper 70s out in Vegas, so I'm pretty excited
Oh
to
yeah, that's exciting. Gosh, I think we're gonna get 60s and rain this week. But 60s is better than 20s and rain. So
absolutely,
or snow.
absolutely. So just for those that don't know, Mark is also in a Rush tribute band called the Sundogs. And I
Mhm.
didn't realize this until I really love this is kind of a hobby for me, but I really love this because it you get to know more things that like photography. I mean, you're an amazing photographer, and
Thank you.
uh, I highly encourage people to go out and follow your Instagram post. The my God, and we'll get into the scuba diving here in a little bit, but the pictures under the ocean are just incredible.
Yeah, they're hard to get. You got to do a lot of planning, and a lot of things have to go your way to get good photos. In a day of diving on 4 days, I may take 500 pictures and only have maybe 10 really good ones that are worth editing and posting and all that. But it's quite an adventure to get them. But when you get them, it's like wow, you get to show people things that they normally would never be able to see. So that's one of the things I like about it.
Yeah, well, we can go ahead and go into kind of photography here for a few minutes. Actually, I've got a couple friends. I also have a DJ business on the side as well. I do
Oh,
do
you're
I
as
think
busy as I am.
yeah, a little busier than my wife would like me to be sometimes,
Uh,
I things like this here I go with my passion and enjoy it. So
of course.
you know, but you talked about the editing. What a lot of people don't realize is how much time you know taking the picture part
Hmm.
sometimes the easiest part. It's then go through and you know fine tune everything. Just like a musician, you have to fine
Yeah,
tune your
right. Fine tune your song. You got to fine tune your photograph.
yeah.
And present the colors the way that you saw them, and not try to. A lot of people, you see a lot of Instagram accounts out there that have just these overcooked pictures of whatever it is that their thing is, and you can it just sometimes I feel like it's like, well, that's not what it really looks like. So I try to be as honest as I can with presenting those photographs with the right colors and the right lighting, and not to just start moving sliders all over the place in Lightroom. to make it look cool. I want to make it look like what I actually saw. So that's what's important to me when editing. So,
It is, and they're crisp. I mean, you, how long have you been doing photography now? I mean, is this just something that you just picked up, or?
oh, ever since I was a kid, my mom had always gotten me cameras for Christmas, and so I always did it informally. I would just carry it around on the road if we were traveling, and I lived in Europe for a time, and I would always take pictures of castles and stuff, and I still have all those, but they're not. It was never with a pro camera. It was only when I started diving, I started taking pictures underwater and I was really dissatisfied with the results. And so I just kept, it's a gradual thing, like a studio, for instance. You keep upgrading and upgrading until the equipment is no longer the problem. So as we say, it's the archer, not the bow and arrow, that makes the shot. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I've eliminated the crappy bow and arrow part. So, so once I got a good camera, then I was really able to start just focusing on getting the shot and not worrying about having to do a lot of extra work to bring more light down with me or to get the sun in just the right spot. And so it's really been a long evolution. But the underwater part that's evolved over like the last 7 years or so, I guess.
So did the diving? How long have you been doing diving? Was that something?
Let's see. I got certified in I think 2012 maybe, and then I became a master scuba diver trainer about a year and a half later. So I was all in. So I did everything I needed to do in a relatively short period of time, and I went to the IDC in Key Largo, Florida, and I passed the instructor exam, and I just certified a couple people in Key Largo after the cruise for advanced open water divers, and so that's teaching. So I like teaching diving. I like teaching people to be safe, and exposing them to the ocean is a really big thing. You see somebody go down on their first ocean dive, and it changes their life. It really does. You really have you could see that they're just blown away. You can't imagine how amazing it is down there.
Right, right. It's a completely different world. I mean, I haven't done it. Um,
I
and
highly recommend it.
yeah, I've done a little bit of snorkeling, but
Snorkeling's a
that's not
good start, though. You get to see a lot of cool stuff snorkeling.
yeah.
Snorkeling's great. So
Yeah. So would you consider that as your release spot then, or do you have some or a lot of your outside of?
I don't know if I really have a release. Like everything that I do is because I desperately want to do it. There's no wow, I really need a break from playing in kicks. I never need a break from playing in kicks. It's always awesome. And I never need a break from any job that I have because I don't take a job unless it's awesome. So I have, all these different spots that I park myself, and I'm able to find a lot of joy in those things. So I don't know if getting a break or getting a release is the right way that I think about it in my head. So it's more like finding something interesting to do. Whether it be I went uh, to Yosemite this summer and did 5 days in the backcountry, which was something I hadn't done before, not in that part of the world, but and it was amazing. We were up at 12,000 feet and we were humping 40-pound packs and taking baths in glacial pools, and so that do I need a release from that? No, I would do that every week if I could,
Right.
But so it's hard to quantify that in that headspace where it's like, do I really need to get away from doing all this awesome stuff? No, I don't.
Well, that's great advice for somebody too. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, that's something that I guess I kind of found over the last, I don't know, I want to say the last 10 years or something or other is, you know, don't don't wait. If there's something you want to do, do it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. Like if I think of something, I want to do it tomorrow.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there were several years that we've you talked about being in jujitsu. Something that was
Yeah.
something that I'm in my upper 40s. I'm 48, almost 50 years old, and just now decided that year and a half ago, you know what? I love MMA. I'm going to try at least jujitsu. I want to try something.
Yeah.
And
You won't get punched in the face in jujitsu, at
yeah,
least not
yeah, not intentionally, right? You
not
might.
intentionally. You get the wayward knee here and there, maybe an elbow, but it's really, if you have good training partners, this, that you're not really going to get hurt. If as long as you, I remember my the one of the black belts that runs the school. I was rolling with him one time, not maybe about a year ago, and he was like, "You need to tap more often, and you need to tap quicker."
Yeah, I learned
So I thought that was good advice.
that's something that you learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
Either you're waking back up with somebody shaking your legs around, or your elbow hurts really bad the next day.
when that when that tunnel comes in, when they got that choke, you're like, okay, okay, here comes the black tunnel.
Yep,
Uh,
it's too
Tap
late.
just before. It's a lot of fun though. It's really I find it funny when I have blacked out, when I have got choked out, and I wake up and they're like, everybody's laughing, everybody's got a smile. They're like, "Aha, I got you. You didn't tap, dummy." So I find that highly entertaining. Not that I love getting choked out, but it's just
Right.
funny to wake up with all of your mat mates around you, and they're just kind of, hey, you all right? And they're laughing because they know you're all right, but you know. And then the guy that choked you out is, man, I'm really sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
think I had it in that deep.
yeah,
So.
yeah. And then they're patting you on the back and hugging you, but in the back of their mind, hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're spiking the football, the jujitsu football.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Another thing's kind of connected to that here in our area, and I don't know how it is in Virginia, but we got a real problem with bullying.
Oh, mat bullies
Yeah,
or
just
oh,
bullying
bullying
like
in general. Oh,
kids.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
but mostly kids in school and stuff. I don't know if you ever had to deal with that, but
Me?
yeah,
Oh, I was a military kid. I moved 16 times when I was 16 years old. So I was always, if you're the new kid, you're the guy that's always in a fight.
yeah,
So yeah, I got my ass kicked quite a few times. So
yeah. It's just one of the in you know jujitsu. I always try to promote it a little bit too because it's a perfect thing for somebody young age as a kid or something or other. I mean,
yeah.
you can certainly. If I would have known it, I would have been able to neutralize a lot of
For
problems.
sure, for sure. And also, one of the things I remember is that, going to school that first day, sometimes I was inserted into a school in the middle of the year and there's fear. And then when you know some jujitsu enough to maybe take some control or keep from getting hurt, that fear kind of goes away. It's not that you have confidence or you're cocky, but there's just a level of confidence that you're not really, afraid. And I've heard this from several young people at our gym, talking about bullying and the same thing. And
Right.
I love what the Gracies do with the Gracie Bully Proof program. I think that's amazing. You see their videos on Gracie University, and they bring kids out that got bullied on social media, and they teach them how to fight and teach them how to defend themselves, and it's really a good thing. But we don't get it doesn't if there is a lot of bullying in the schools around here, I don't hear about it. It doesn't really make the news because we're in DC and all anybody cares about is what's going on downtown, which I really don't care about. So, those little side clips really don't make the evening news every night. So
Right.
so it's hard for me to gauge that. But I imagine it's like that everywhere. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, I remember in elementary school, everybody was really cruel, and so was I. Little kids can just be, they can be cruel. We know this. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
now, I'm sure it hasn't really changed that much, but there's probably a little bit more awareness. Um, but I really love that bully proof program, and I love what what jujitsu can give young people. I have a nephew who was getting bullied in school, and he lives not too about an hour away from here. He's about 10 years old, and I brought him down to our gym to talk to our black belt, and he signed up for jujitsu, and his fear went away, his confidence went away, and he was actually able to neutralize the situation the very beginning of this school year because kids were used to picking on him. He's little, and he was able to neutralize something. So it was like, yes, that was the whole goal. So that's the perfect example of jujitsu working in a way that helps a young kid who was filled with nothing but trepidation and fear going to school, and helped him get where he that fear is gone.
Right.
That fear is a big thing. I'm sure you remember from elementary school. It's like
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
always somebody bigger, always some jerk that. Well, I remember walking down the hall in junior high and just getting punched in the chest one time, and just not being able to breathe. I'm like, what did I do? And I was the new kid. That's what I did. That was my crime. So
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's not necessarily that you can kick anybody's ass or anything like that, but it's that
no,
but knowing that you have an option. I think
yes,
that's where the confidence comes from. You know that if something happens with this, I can do that.
yeah,
And
yeah. And for women too. I mean that
oh yeah.
I've seen there are some women in our gym that I'm afraid to roll with because I know they're gonna tap me out. They're just, it's not that they're savages, it's just that their technique is excellent and better than mine. And and they're, much smaller than me. And you feel like, oh, this person's really small and I'm rolling with them. I don't want to hurt them. And then next thing you know, they have you in a triangle and you're tapping and here comes the tunnel again. You know what I mean? So I think that jujitsu is an ideal sport for, or not a sport, but a self-defense method for women. I mean, you can this, you can take on a much larger opponent and dominate them if your technique is good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, our sensei he's 135 pounds.
Oh, is
And
that right?
and
Wow.
he's a and yeah, I mean there's nobody in the gym. I mean we got guys in there 265, 275 in there that he rolls with, and I'm at awe.
Hmm.
Just it's crazy. It's just
It's a,
crazy.
it's amazing. You don't really. I've been doing it for, I guess, 3 years, and I just got my blue belt like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So two and a
Congratulations.
half years in, thank you. 2.5 years in, I got the blue belt, and I've been to a couple seminars. Hoist Gracie came to our gym and did a seminar, and I went to a Henner seminar once, and they were great. Seminars are great to go to, and they it's really satisfying when you get, even when you get one stripe. I always feel like crying when I get a stripe because I feel like it's such
It
an
is.
accomplishment.
It
And
is.
it's very emotional for me.
And I feel the same, and it's different too because you feel the same for when other people get it too because
Yes, yes.
so it's
I love watching other people get stripes. It's like you're so elated. And there was fact just Thursday night, this kid I was rolling with, he got his first stripe as a white belt, and I was almost in tears for him. He's a younger kid, he's probably 17, 18, but I was just in class with him, and he got striped after class, and I was like, wow, and he was like freaking out too. He was really really happy, and to see that that happens often. People get striped all the time, and so it's like this constant positive feedback amongst your tribe in your gym that you can't really get anywhere else. If you
right.
think about it, where do you find that kind of, community and everybody's pumped for, just somebody getting something as simple as one stripe? I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I just um, so you've taken, and I apologize how to pronounce it. Is it Shaolin?
Yeah, Shaolin Kung Fu. I took
How do you compare that to Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, well, that's the big question, isn't it? So, the I was taking Kung Fu. I was in about 3.5 years before UFC one happened, and I vividly recall it because it was like, wow, there's finally going to be like martial arts on TV. It's going to be like the Quomante, like the Van Damme movie. Where he
Yeah,
just everybody fights everybody, or the Mr. Han's Island and Enter the Dragon, where all these different disciplines come together and fight to see who's the best. I'm like, now it's going to be on TV,
Right.
and so I was so pumped for it. And then, I saw, what everybody else saw, this little guy in pajamas. I'm like, oh, he's going to get killed. This guy is going to get destroyed. And so what happens? He ends up just ragdolling I mean, his technique, and I just couldn't believe it. And I just remember thinking about it for days after. I'm like, I can't believe that guy beat all those big giant guys. He really beat them. It was not like it was like a lucky, move or anything. He was deliberate, and Hoist just murdered everybody. And for me, I was like, I don't know about this. Maybe this thing ain't so great. Because it was we did a lot of sparring, and so we would wear full headgear, 16-ounce gloves, and then padding on our shins and feet. And so there was a lot of that, and kung fu is a lot of, at least the way I was taught, a lot of close in stuff. So you get a lot of elbow strikes, a lot of really tight stuff. And
Oh, okay.
the object is to have that knee strike or have that elbow strike or fist to end the fight immediately. And
I gotcha.
the level of skill that you need to acquire to execute that perfect punch every time under adrenaline, under the stress of of a negative encounter. It takes many, many years to master that. And I just didn't think that, I was getting cracked in sparring. I ended up on the mat looking at the ceiling. I thought, God, I never saw that kick coming. And while that was in my brain, I moved from Maryland, excuse me, to Northern Virginia,
Hmm.
and there was no kung fu schools down here. They were all sort of wishy-washy. They weren't really, because I wanted the true martial art. I didn't want, at the time, I think like Tai Bo was like big,
Hmm.
and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do Taekwondo. I don't want to do karate. I want to do kung fu. And
Hmm.
there were, jujitsu was just a word you heard on TV. There were really no jujitsu gyms around,
Hmm.
and so I kind of put that on the back burner, for quite some time, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, man, I just felt drawn to get back into martial arts somehow. And I didn't want to get punched in the face anymore, and I didn't want to get kicked in the head anymore. So that eliminated kung fu, taekwondo, all that stuff. So jujitsu was the answer for me, and I'm so glad that I figured it out and found it.
Yeah, and there's so many things that are very similar to it too. Like this. And I didn't realize of Sambo. You heard of Sambo?
Yeah, sure. I've seen. Yeah, you go down those YouTube rabbit holes and you see
Yeah.
that stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
I mean, Sambo, judo,
Mm-hmm.
and even certain parts of karate is kind of even related to the
Mm-hmm.
jujitsu. But anyway, um, so I'm kind of jealous. I was kind of going down through your list here and seeing that you saw, kind of switching gears to
Sure.
music here. Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell is that?
Well, it was, we were living in a city called Augsburg in Germany. My dad was stationed there, and we at the time it was 79, 80, I think it was. Yeah, it was 1980, and all of the big bands were coming through Europe. There were opportunities to see, which I missed, to see Frank Zappa, unfortunately, and there were festivals with like Fleetwood Mac, and all these bands were in their prime, the Eagles, and Black Sabbath came through on the first tour with Dio,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
the Heaven and Hell tour, and so they were. For all those bands, it was very easy for them to tour Europe because Europe's so tight. And I didn't realize this at the time, but looking back on it, so Led Zeppelin was, launching their In Through the Outdoor, and they just did Europe first, and they were scheduled uh, to go to the States in September or October, maybe the beginning of October, and John Bonham died, September 21st or something like that. So, not knowing that, I just, was like, hey, we get to go see Led Zeppelin, and so we got tickets. They were $10, and we took the train from Augsburg to Munich. It was about a 40-minute train ride, and we actually got me and my friends actually got I don't know, taken into custody, I guess you could say. So the way that the armed forces worked acquiring tickets for the dependents and the people that were stationed there is they would get a whole bundle of tickets from Lippmann and Rao was the big promoter over there at the time, and so they would get all these tickets, and we walked up to the gates and presented our tickets, and this there was some kind of a holdup, and uh, German guy comes over, he says like, come with me. And we were like, wow, what do we do? So they took us into the bowels of the Olympia Hall in Munich and sat us in this room. And a Polizei guy came in, German police, and he said, hey, your tickets are stolen. I hate to tell you, but you're probably going to go to jail if we can't get a hold of your parents. And I was 15, 14 or 15, and I had an older friend with me who was a little bit more fluent in German. I call him my older brother, but Cliff Crawford. My dad worked for his dad in Germany, and so Cliff was there, and he was a little more fluent in German. And then I just remembered that I had the receipt for the tickets in my breast pocket of my army jacket that I wore. I wore my dad's field jacket all the time at school. And so I was like, hey, I have a receipt. And so they looked at it and they looked at the tickets, and there was just a mistake that some of the tickets were reported stolen. One of the GIs had stolen a handful of tickets from the thing, and they misreported the range that was stolen, which is, not atypical of something that happens in the army, according to my dad. So they let us go, and by the time we got out to the concert, all of the T-shirts were sold out. So I never got a shirt, but I got a poster and like a patch and something else. I don't remember, something small. So
Still have those?
of course I still have them.
Oh,
Yes, I
that's
still have the train tickets from the train ride. I have everything. I have the ticket. I keep everything. I'm like a big pack rat. I have all my concert tickets that I've ever been to. So, including all 45 Rush shows.
oh, geez.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Germany. I mean, they don't mess around. I mean,
No,
yeah,
they don't
that
mess
was
around.
that was probably quite intimidating.
No, I saw, the Polizei in Germany do not play games. I saw, we were skipping school one day and we were down by this river. And Mom, I hope you're not listening. Um, and we actually saw the Polizei guys slide down the bank to the trail and like shoot warning shots at a guy. And then we were shitting our pants because we're like, man, we're skipping school. We need to get the hell out of here, you know. But that's the kind of thing that happens over there. They don't play around, you don't listen, you're gonna get your head busted. There's no police brutality over there. It's you do what you're told or you're gonna get cracked.
So seeing, I mean, then you probably didn't think anything other than you was just going to see a great rock band, and now you look back in future. I mean, you look back now and say Led Zeppelin. Wow. I mean that.
Yeah, yeah, and that concert is actually on YouTube. There's some significant portions of it that somebody filmed with a Super 8 camera, and so you could see that concert. But that was actually the pivotal moment for me that I just saw Jimmy Page, and I thought, man, I bet I could do that, and I just remember thinking that during the concert. I was like, I could do that. It's not that it didn't look hard. I was just a dumb kid. I just had this notion that that was something that I might be able to do. And so after that, I started, getting more interested in, figuring out how to get my parents to get me a guitar or something, get me something to play, guitar lessons or whatever it may be. So when we moved back to the States, that's when I got my first guitar. So, but Led Zeppelin was that moment. Seeing Led Zeppelin, seeing that concert was that moment that made me want to play.
So you started out on regular guitar then,
Yeah, I was six string guy until I played in bar bands through the mid 80s, I guess until about 88. And I was a guitar player. I still have my Marshalls and all my guitars, I have everything. So I'm one of those guys that buys a piece of gear and I never sell it. So I have, 100 guitars and, 800 stomp boxes, I don't know why. Anyway, so but I still have that. I still have my amp that I bought when I got out of high school, my Marshall amp, and maybe six or seven other ones that I probably should sell. But the you know, having that guitar experience and that rhythm experience, I think really helped me switch over to bass. And I switched over to bass because when we were doing recordings, my friend Rob Galpin and I, we had our own little 4-track recorder. We would try to write songs that sounded like Led Zeppelin or Van Halen, one or the other. And our bass player was he quit or something happened. He's moved away. I don't really remember exactly, but I was the guy that had the bass. So it was my bass that we used to record with. And so I was hereby sworn into the, to the brotherhood. So it was by default. And then, after I started playing bass live with those guys, I realized that there's this whole sonic space that was all my own that nobody else could be a part of. And playing rhythm guitar, you're basically supporting the lead guitar player, which I enjoyed a lot. I really enjoyed playing rhythm, and I didn't play lead because my friend Rob that I mentioned earlier was such a fantastic lead player. There was no point in me playing a lead. So, but I relished playing rhythm, and that helped me get my rhythm chops together, my feel together for being a pocket bass player, and really being able to lay down a groove with a drummer. So I switched over about 88 or 89, somewhere in there. And that's I'm glad I did. It was really the right thing for me.
So did Sundogs come before Kicks, or did
No, Sundogs is actually about 3 years old. The two guys that I play with, Andy Rabin, the guitar player, and Vince Tricarico, the drummer,
Mhm.
they were in another Rush tribute band that had 5 guys in it, and they were great. The singer was great. It was singer, keyboard player, bass player, um, and those two guys. And they asked me to come up. Vince had reached out to me and said, "Hey, why don't you come up and jam with us at this one show?" And I said, "Well, of course, because I know those songs." He was like, "Which ones do you want to do?" I'm like, How many will you let me do? Because I'll play the whole night." So, so I went out and played a couple songs with them, and Vince and I started talking, and he said, "Hey, what if, if our bass player, he wants to do all these other things, what if you got in the band?" I said, "Well, I wouldn't want to do it unless it's a trio." I was like, "I'll sing and play bass and play keyboards." And he said at that point, right when I said that, he checked out of the other band. He was like done. He was like, "If I get a chance to play Rush as a trio, that's what I wanted. That's what he wanted to do." So, and I just couldn't, I couldn't, it's like doing a Van Halen tribute with two guitar players. I don't, and listen, don't get me wrong, there are so many good Rush tribute bands out there. They have girl singers, they have, awesome guys that are just up there killing the Getty vocal.
Yeah.
And but for me, it's like if I'm going to do something like that, I felt like it had to be a trio. It had to be a tribute that's exactly the way that Rush is. And that's how Vince felt too. And then we sort of kind of grabbed Andy into the fold. And so we've been playing, pretty steady gigs for 3 years now. Last gig we played was a sold out gig at a local venue here. So, but we've been up to Boston and down to Southern Virginia and a lot of local clubs here in the greater DC area, and we're doing quite well. It's going well. It's extremely difficult. It's one of playing Rush is, as we say, is a perishable skill. If you don't play it all the time, you are going to suck at it, and you're going to have a train wreck in front of a bunch of Rush nerds who won't appreciate the fact that you didn't practice enough.
Well, the couple YouTubes I've seen of them of you guys, I mean, if you close your eyes, you're listening to Rush. I mean, it's that.
That's a high compliment. Thank you very much. It's thank you. That means a lot. We've heard people say that, but when you're up there doing it and you're executing it, and trust me, it's for all three of us. A lot of the stuff is at the very top edge of our musical ability, and no matter how much you practice, you're not going to hit that wave every single song
Right.
every single night. And so when people say, well, one guy came up to me um, a couple shows ago, and he was like, "Man, during the trees, I just closed my eyes and I swore I was listening to Rush." And I was like, again, the highest compliment that anybody can pay, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even to, I mean, Neil Peart being able to come even close to his sound
Yeah.
on the Skins. I mean, it's
Yeah, Vince is he's an astonishing drummer, and he painstakingly dissects those songs, and he pretty much plays Neil hit for hit. And it's and it's amazing. We'll pick up a new song. Like right now we're working on the Hemispheres Prelude and Digital Man, and Vince picks those things up, and it's like, he'll go down there, he's a, wife and kids, and has a real job, and he'll go down there after work and just woodshed until he has that stuff exactly right. And so when Andy and I come in to, start working on a new song or to go over the sets, it's like, you know, there's no surprises with Vince. He's that good, and he's that dedicated to, you know, presenting Neil's parts the way that Neil did, to the absolute tip top of his ability. So
yeah. If there's anybody out there in Facebook land right now, by the way, we're talking to Mark Schenker of KIX. If you want ask any questions, there, feel free to jump in there and comment on Facebook there. Um, so let's talk a little bit about M3. Y'all have kicked off M3. Was I correct on every single year now, or was there a year
I
that you?
I think so. I you know Monsters of Rock Cruise and M3 are two of the things that we've been doing about 10 years. And I'm not sure if we missed the first M3 or not, because it's been, quite some
Right,
time. But,
right, right. Yeah,
but I
exactly.
think I think the first one we may have played on a Saturday at about, because I remember it was light out. We might have played at like 5 or 6 o'clock. And, uh, and I think after that, we always played Friday nights because they used, the Kicks Off Party, which is a
Oh
great
yeah.
way to promote the thing. And we're happy to play at any point they ask us to. They let us close the show, and most of the other bands are, very cool about it. Like one time, the opposite happened where Wasp had to close the show, and we were like, we don't care. Well, our fans are going to be there no matter what time we play, and the fans are very passionate about, well, Kicks should play last and all that stuff, but we don't have control over that. But
Right.
so even, a band like Night Ranger has played in front of us at M3. Bands that certainly deserve to headline that Friday night. They just sort of know that this is our territory, and no, I think that a lot of bands have the same attitude that we do. It's like, it doesn't really matter what time you play. Your fans are going to be there. Sure, they want it to be dark so you can get all the light effects and everything, but at the end of the day, we're not sticklers about it. We're not going to be, jerks about it. Well, we have to play a lot. We're never like that. We just don't care. Just tell us what time to be there. We'll tell our fans, and they'll show up.
Well, you all are not real. I mean, big light, special effect kind of band
No,
anyway. I mean, you don't need it.
no, we don't. We have Steve does the balloons at the end of the night. We have confetti blasters that we use sometimes, but if we use them at M3, they would just look like little, you know, so it's not worth bringing those to M3. But they work good in a 3,000 seat venue. They look cool. So yeah, but you're right. We don't have video walls, or which Sundogs has video walls. We need that for three guys standing on stage. You need a little distraction
I
from
did
what
notice that.
you're loitering. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Believe me, you don't have to. There's no pressure to look cool. You're while you're trying to do this insanely difficult thing, playing Rush. So, but you're right, and we've never. I think one year at M3 we did a balloon drop, and it was the logistics of making that happen was such a hassle that we were just like, we don't really need a balloon drop, so we never did it again.
No, I mean it's just the amount of energy. I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, this was the first time that, well, actually, any of my friends that were with me had ever seen Kicks live before.
Hmm.
And I mean, as soon as we left M3 that weekend on that Monday morning, we were scanning down through, where can we see Kicks again live?
Great.
I mean, it
Then we did
was
our job. That's awesome.
yeah, and it again. I mean, just like another good example band is like Aerosmith.
Oh,
You don't you
exactly.
don't have to have all the frills of the Kiss stage show in order
Right.
to do it. I mean,
Yeah,
God bless
Aerosmith
Kiss for
is so
doing it,
cool.
but you know the what's it like playing with Brian and Ronnie? I mean, Brian,
Yeah,
I was just like, shit, you got to be
they're
kidding me.
those guys are they're such amazing guitar players. I remember the first couple of shows that we did as Kicks, and I remember feeling like, I was in the middle of a jet, and those two guys were jet engines on each side, and it was so uh, um, authoritative, and it was like a steamroller. Their rhythm playing is masterful. I mean, they deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence as Pete Townsend and Eddie Van Halen as rhythm players.
Agreed.
And that is, a part of the big part of the machine that drives that kick sound is that those guys are such great feel rhythm players. And like I said, that side by side tornado of me being in the middle and hearing, in my in ears this crushing guitar, and it was it took me a while to get used to it. It was actually a little scary at first.
Effortless. Include effortless in that
Yeah,
because
effortless is
it
true.
just it.
Yeah.
I mean they just look that like you said. I mean, you explained it exactly the way that I saw it was and heard it. You had they complement each other
Oh yeah.
like perfect. You couldn't have
Hmm.
put them together perfectly, more perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. Ronnie's got the Les Paul sound, and Brian's using a Tele. Sometimes he'll pick up a Les Paul, but I mean, those are, it's again, it's not the bow and arrow, it's the Indian. Those guys
Right.
are they're impressive, and they'll warm up for a good hour before each show, and they'll play through parts of the set, and they're in headphones, for a good amount of time during the warm up period, and I'm just scrolling on my phone. If I warm up, I'll be terrible. So I just warm up just a few minutes beforehand. But I can't go over those songs before we play them because I'll just be, I'll be like, it doesn't do me good to warm up before, to play the whole set before we play. So, um,
Yeah, and then of course we can't, Steve. I mean, as for a front man,
yeah, he's the best. I mean, there's, in my eyes, I think, as far as frontmen go, that I think are same sentence as him is Steven Tyler and Mick Jagger. I mean, I really can't think of another dude who can sing that well and, entertain the crowd and be witty and funny and just have the crowd right in his hand and do it differently each night and keep everybody's attention and then go up there and sing those high songs and move around with the shape that he's in. I just don't think that that there's anybody better. I mean, he'll tell you Mick Jagger, he's his hero,
hmm
and so that's where he gets a lot of his moves from, and he's not apologetic
I
for
can
ripping
see
off
that.
Mick Jagger. Yeah,
I
he's
can
not
definitely see
apologetic.
that.
Yeah, yeah, but he's amazing. He takes care of his voice. He doesn't. There's no partying in the Kicks area. We're all pretty straight laced, and um, that contributes to our ability to execute these shows at a high level like that.
Yeah. So, and then of course we're rounded up with your with Jimmy. How do you pronounce his last name?
Shalfant,
Shelfin.
Shalfant, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just a complete animal. And from what I understand, he was the one responsible for bringing the band back together, or had a big influence in it. From
Um, it was a weird thing. It was Jimmy and Steve and I were playing in Steve's band Funny Money on the weekends just for
I gotcha.
something to do,
Okay.
and Ronnie's band, the Blues Vultures, would warm up for Funny Money, and so we'd bring Ronnie in at the end of the night and play three kick songs. And then so some promoter in Baltimore said, "Hey, what if we paid Brian to come back in?" And because Brian was living in L.A. at the time,
hmm
And so Steve called Brian, and Brian was like, "Yeah, I'll do it as long as Donnie's not involved." So, which is my predecessor.
Yeah.
They weren't interested in doing something with him. So that's actually how I got the job. So I was just sort of the guy there with the bass that already knew most of the songs, and so nobody even really said, you get to be the bass player. It was just, I think it was just assumed. It was kind of strange how it worked out for me. Nobody ever came up and said, you got the gig. It was just like, hey, we got to play this KIX gig. You got to learn these four other songs. I was like, okay. So Jimmy was, um, Jimmy was for it, and so to get everybody to buy in for that back way back then. This was in 2003 now, so it's
Hmm.
quite some time ago.
Hmm.
And to get everybody to buy in was key. And Jimmy, they all put their heart and soul into what Kix was, and they built that band with their blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak.
Hmm.
And so to do it in a slightly different way, probably took some considerable thought and you know, figuring things out in between their ears for each one of those guys. And they just figured, yeah, let's do it, let's try it. And so, but I don't know if you could say, we couldn't have done it without Jimmy. Let's put it that way. So in terms of him being instrumental, that band would be tough to do without any one of those guys. It's just really, each one of those guys it's like, you know, Peter, Paul, Gene, and Ace.
Right,
Of
right,
course,
right.
we know how that's going these days, but it's still those guys.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another story altogether.
Yeah, of course.
I like them, but coming from as a Kiss fan of the, pretty much the beginning, I'm gonna say. I mean,
Same here. Yeah.
it was it's sort of disappointing that they, and people that aren't Kiss fans don't understand it, but I wish they would have come out with different characters for Tommy and Eric.
Yeah.
If they're going to keep, you know, kind of like Slipknot,
Right.
you know.
Right. That's a good comparison. I hadn't thought of that. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But Gene and Paul aren't dummies.
No,
They're not stupid men. They know how to squeeze every last penny out of whatever it is that they're doing.
I don't know too many other bands that are selling condoms and coffins. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So back to M3. Like I mentioned, last year was the first year we were there. We actually got over to the after party deal
Hmm.
over. I don't know if you go to it or was at it, but
No, I've heard about it though. I've been invited. I think I've gone there once, and for me it was too chaotic.
it was
I'm not
chaotic.
psyched about being in those situations. Really, it doesn't. It makes me anxious. So I kind of stay away from that kind of stuff.
It was chaotic. I guess the side of it that not necessarily the partying side of it, but the cool side of it was that they kind of had an open mic stage type setup, and with
Yeah.
and different members from different bands would come up, and I mean, like Alex Grossi played on with the guys from Kingdom Come. I mean, it was just
Hmm.
a collaboration with all of them, and it was just kind of
Yeah.
cool.
I
And
li I do like those jam nights. I got to admit.
yeah, yeah. I mean, do you all ever do those when?
We do those on the Monsters of Rock cruise. I was asked to, what did I do this time? I played a Kiss song with one of the so it was like a cruisers
Hmm.
rock star jam,
Hmm.
and so I did a Kiss song with one of the female photographers on there. Hi, Vanessa, and she did a great job. So we just got a bunch of guys up there, and I think it was um, me and another. I played guitar and a bass player, and then a couple other cruisers. The cruiser playing drums, and
Hmm.
another cruiser playing guitar, and then the photographer Vanessa was singing, and it was great. It was a blast. There was a lot of and Brian got up and did a song, and last 2 years with our friends from Nashville who actually play in Peter and Gene's solo band, the Rock and Roll Residency, Jeremy and Phil and Ryan invited Jimmy and I up, and we did. Brian and I are big Skynyrd fans, so we got up and played a Skynyrd song, two Skynyrd songs, I think. No, we played one Skynyrd song, and then Ronnie came up and sang a Kiss song, and we did The Real Me, so I got to play bass on The Real Me by The Who, with Danny from Tyketto singing, and he murdered it, and Jimmy playing drums, and so we do those things. We've done those things on the cruise, but we haven't done it after M3. For us, M3 is local, so for me, it's only an hour and a half drive. So I'm just, I'm anxious to get home.
Yep, I understand that.
Because M3 is a long day when you're the headliner, because you have to be the first to sound check. So you get there early, and it's just a very long day, and I think the one of the last things I'm interested in doing after the show is going somewhere else and playing more songs. So, but I do love those things, and Jimmy does those things, and Ronnie will do those things, and Brian does them probably more than anybody though. He knows a lot of people, and they always say, hey, come up and play this, and so Brian's into that. He does that quite a bit.
I gotcha. So kind of go off tangent here a little bit too around. You had, I'm just kind of going down through your fodder here.
Mm-hmm.
You worked in IT for over 25 years. These are some of the things that you don't hear about.
Right. So when I came off the road and my band didn't get signed, this was about I don't know, 93, 94. Whenever Kurt Cobain hit the streets, we were all over. It was done. So there was no more bar gigs, no more record companies didn't care, and we were signed to a management company at the time, and we were getting some real label interest, and that all just kind of fell apart. And I had always had a computer. My parents bought a computer. My dad was, in the Army, and he worked at the Pentagon, and he bought a computer so he could sign in remotely and I guess do some sort of rudimentary kind of email. This would have been 88 or 89. And I used to play computer games all the time. So we had like Madden NFL 1.0, and StarCraft 1.0. They were all DOS games,
Oh yeah.
And so I spent a lot of my nights, because I've always been a night owl, just messing around on the computer, trying to get new games to work and upgrading the computer, and then finally building my own computer. And so at that time, businesses started to use computers. This was right before the internet. And, a lot of people, before Excel, there was Lotus 1-2-3. And I knew how to use it. And so a lot of friends of mine had businesses. So when I was home off tour, I would go out and do consulting gigs and show these people how to, enter their payroll into into Lotus 1-2-3, or Harvard Graphics, and make rudimentary ads that they would send in to the Yellow Pages when advertising in the Yellow Pages was still a thing.
Right.
So I've been involved with computers, and computers were always very easy for me. Like I was always very able to figure things out, get things to work, fix things that were broken, and really have a good understanding of what was going on. And so I finally got an IT job working at let's see, my first IT job was working at a body shop. Shout out to John Joyce. And they had a DOS-based estimating program.
Okay.
And so I had to maintain that program and make sure that the estimates were turned into invoices and so on and so forth. And it was in DOS, and it was very it was programmed in a language that's probably not even around anymore. And so it was a little buggy, and they needed a person to take care of it and interface with the developer to make sure that and make sure we had the latest Mitchell manuals and all that sort of thing. And so from there on, I just started getting bigger and better IT jobs until I started working at a consulting firm. And so I was a network architect and a network engineer, and I did, business development, and then I became the chief technology officer. So I was in charge of the direction of the company. I decided what products we were going to get behind and what we were going to sell as resellers, um, and beat the streets and work on government contracts and get try to win them and then staff them and then make sure that the customers were happy. And so I did a lot of business development at the time. It was still technical. It was highly technical. And so I've been doing it and then I actually took 5 years off, and I was a teacher at a local music school where it's sort of a franchise. It was called Bach to Rock. It still is, still out there. Great music school, but they had a curriculum.
Hmm.
So you had to have a music degree to teach there. They don't just hire, guys who can flurry the notes. So I had about 30 guitar students, a couple of bass students, um, and occasionally they let me teach rudimentary drumming, which they probably shouldn't have, but I could do it a little bit. So, and then I had over the course of 5 years, 6 years maybe, I had um, five of my students got accepted to Berklee College of Music, and two of them have since graduated. One of them's graduating this year, and then another one of my students got accepted to Belmont in Nashville. So,
Excellent.
um, yeah, it was strange the way it came about because my original guitar teacher from when I moved here from Europe had called me and he said, "Hey, his name's John Zahn. Shout out to John. Um, Fantastic guitar teacher, lifetime educator, just a brilliant guy, great guitar player." And so he called me one day and he said, "Hey, I heard you stopped working." I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to take some time away from IT. It's not what it used to be. It's not as creative as it used to be. I just need a break." He was like, "Well, you have to teach." And I was like, "John, I don't know how to teach. I can't be around kids and not say the F word. I, I can't I can't physically imagine myself not, talking like a sailor in front of little kids. I'm like, I don't know if I could do it." And so he was like, his speech to me was, and it really hit home after I thought about it. And it took me like a month to have it sink in. And he was like, he said, "You got to give back." He said, you've been taking out of the pool, and you've got this great career. You're a great bass player. You're a brilliant musician. All these really nice things that I probably don't deserve, but he said them, and so I'll take it. And he said, "You got to put back. You have to give other people the thing that I gave you." And I was like, "Whoa, that sounds really heavy," but I still can't not cuss in front of kids. So, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, John. I'll check it out. I'll apply for a couple jobs here and there." And and then he called me like 6 weeks later. He was like, "Hey, how's the job hunt going?" I was like, because I hadn't done anything. And I was like, well, pretty good. I got a couple, offers out there." Just bullshitting him because I was hoping he would forget about me, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
And he was like, again, he gave me the speech. He was like, "You got to do it. You have to give back. I gave you this thing when you took lessons from me, and now you have to give it to other kids. You have to give it back."
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay. So I applied for a job and I got one, and it worked out really good. And I had some really brilliant students that, like I said, I got accepted to Berklee, which is, no easy task. It's a very, very, very low acceptance rate there. So I was very proud of my accomplishment as a music teacher. And then I got offered a job as a VP of information systems at a federal credit union. And again, wasn't doing anything. And the people there were very nice. And so I decided to go do that. And I actually just stopped doing that in October. So I'm kind of looking for another job. I'm looking for a job, but it'll be in IT, and it'll be something that, these days you can work from anywhere. You can do IT
Exactly.
from a plane landing in Iceland, which I have done. So, so it's the climate in IT today is much better for somebody like me who likes to travel and has to have this whole other business of KIX that is a very lucrative business for us all. And so, I have to pay significant attention to that work as well. So, so that's where I'm at right now, and that's sort of my entire IT career summed up as quickly as I could.
How many shows would you say you do a year with Kicks?
Oh man, I think we fly almost every weekend, and most weekends are two shows. So we'll fly Thursday, play a show Friday, maybe jump on a short puddle jumper for Saturday, do a show Saturday, fly home Sunday, and then everybody who has a job goes to work on Monday. And so I would say, anywhere between 40 to 60,
Wow.
somewhere in there. Maybe even, I think 60 to 65 at the top. And there hasn't really been any slow years in quite some time, but I think 40 is probably the least that we've done. So we keep getting, all these, and the thing that I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that, in order to have that mass of shows, you end up having to go to very strange places to play that you would never think anybody gave a shit about kicks. And so I remember being told that we were going to Minot, North Dakota. And I don't know if you know where that is, but you can throw a rock and hit Canada, basically. It's impossible to get to. There's one teeny little airport with no fence around it with a tiny little runway. And we're out there, we're driving, we get to the gig, there's no houses anywhere. And we're like, who's going to come to this gig? We're going to play to like 50 people. It's going to be embarrassing. But again, we do the same show for 50 that we do for 50,000 at Rocklahoma. And so, but we're always pleasantly surprised. There's always like we went to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan last week, and that's in the Upper Peninsula, this little tiny airport again, and then right across the border from Canada. And we were like, "There's not going to be anybody here. There's not going to be anybody here." And we found out it was sold out before we got there. And we get out there, and there's 1,800 fans in there, and they're going nuts. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. So that's one of the things that continually amazes me about Kicks is we can go to, Idaho, and drive and not see any houses and think, oh boy, this is going to be a real disaster for this poor promoter who wanted to put this rock show on. Nobody's going to show up because nobody lives out here, but they show up, and we do well each time, and it constantly amazes me. We're so lucky, so fortunate.
Well, and the thing is with that, I mean, it just goes to show kind of as well. I mean, the longevity. I mean, that was one of the things I mentioned in one of the posts I made was, longevity of Kicks and many others, not just Kicks, but just the 80s era or late 70s era bands. I mean, it's incredible just and the ones that can still do it. I mean,
Yes, yes.
there's some that are still, trying to do it, and
There
that's
are some that shouldn't be,
exactly right.
but we
Yeah.
won't mention any names.
No, we will not. No, but yeah, I mean, it's just the longevity of being able to do it, and people, like myself, of fans of the era, we want to go see, and we want to hear it like we did.
Yeah,
That's and and I think, like I know other people that have seen my shows have. I probably talk too much about this, but just there's to have a band. I mean, for me to like a band, I think you got to have your hard stories, your hard stuff, but then you got to have your ballads like your "Don't Close Your Eyes" and "Tear
yes.
Down the Walls" and the
Hmm.
things that it's kind of like the glue that holds it together.
Hmm.
As a DJ, I'll play all these dance songs, blah blah blah, dance, and then every now and then you got to throw a couple slow songs in there to kind of piece it all together.
Yeah, pull it back a little bit. Yep.
Same goes for rock, and
Hmm.
in my opinion, even Slipknot has slow songs.
Yep, yep. And Aerosmith has Dream On, and Led Zeppelin has Stairway to Heaven, and Freebird. All those. Everybody has a classic slow song, which is great because you really need to, think about Warrant with Heaven. That was a huge
Oh
hit.
my God,
What a
yes.
great song that was. And I'm not a real big Warrant fan, but goddamn, some of those songs are really good. Particularly Heaven. And L.A. Guns, they had the Ballad of Jane, I guess, was their, slow song, that's a great song. Like love or hate LA Guns and say what you want about them. That song is a great song. And I think every band of that era had, you know, I know that, for example, on KIX records, I know there was a conscious effort to put one slow song on the record. Like Blow My Fuse has 10 songs on that. One of those songs is Don't Close Your Eyes. Um, Cool Kids, I think, has For Shame on it. I could be wrong. I forget. But so we played For Shame last night as a slow song, and we played Don't Close Your Eyes as a slow song. So you're right. It gives you a chance to pull the reins back where you're just not, just hitting everybody in the face all night and people like that, but it's nice to have a breather. And then for the people that don't like slow songs, it's a bathroom song.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right.
Man, I pee for 30, 40 minutes. Now I can go. So
Yeah, and I mean
it served a lot of purposes.
one of my favorite current bands, so I call it current. They've been out since 2006 or so, but Five Finger Death Punch. I love Five
Oh
Finger
yeah,
Death Punch.
yeah,
But
they're great. I've seen them a couple times. They're great.
but another good example. Even they have a couple of them are covers, but they're still
Hmm.
still like you say pull the reins in and
Yeah,
so
yeah, great live band.
oh yeah, definitely them and like Corn. Corn's another one.
Yeah,
I
Ray
think.
Luzier is one of my favorite drummers. He's a beast.
Yes, he is. Yes,
He's
he's
astonishing.
his I want to call it theatrical. The way that he gets into the just but
Yeah, he's incredible. I love that guy.
so let's talk a little bit about guns.
Guns, all right.
What's
You got guns?
I do have guns.
I like guns.
I don't have a lot of guns, but I do like the guns that I have,
Uh-huh.
and I've trying to convince more people into why they need guns.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You
I
know,
always say that I may never need it, but if I do need it and I don't have it, it'll suck. So, so I always have it. So I have concealed carry in Virginia and Utah. So Utah as a non-resident gives you like 6 or 7 more states. So, I definitely my gun is close to the door. Let me put it that way. The one I like to carry. And I do. There's a bunch of shoot. This is Virginia. I mean, it's like Texas. Everybody has a gun here. So there's no funny business. There's not a lot of
right?
not a lot of shootings in Virginia. So they say not a lot of gun crimes because, you know, old man so and so in Walmart might pull out his Walther PPK and start blasting away at somebody. We've seen those on the news around here, but. Um, so yeah, I think that again, especially for women, who
Oh yeah,
I'm seeing more and more women at ranges, just like we're seeing more and more women in jujitsu. And
right.
I really think that a woman, even if she knows jujitsu, is outweighed by a 110-pound woman outweighed by a 215-pound man.
Hmm.
She's going to be better off pulling a gun, even if she's a purple belt, right?
Yeah,
So
almost 100% of any gun crime that happens could have either been minimized or prevented if if a good guy would have had a gun.
right, right.
I mean, that's a
And
fact.
yeah, I remember there was some incident not too long ago in Texas where some guys got wise with their guns, and I think a retired sheriff just shot 2 guys, and it didn't even really, it was like a blip on the radar on the news because it's such a it's such a thing in Texas where it's like, oh well, I'm glad somebody shot, and it's
Right.
it's sort of like that here in Virginia, despite the recent uproar about trying to pass legislation against which failed, by the way, which was great. But I agree with you 100%. So many crimes could be avoided if people are carrying. You go to the range, I'm sure you see all the
Oh yeah.
guys at the range have their sidearms on. Nobody's gonna. No, I heard a comedian say something once that I thought was very relevant. It's like, do you want to prevent I wish I could name the comedian, but whoever it is out there, it's not my joke, it's yours. Um, he said that the way to prevent plane hijacking is to give everybody a gun when they come through the door. Nobody's going to pull any shit if everybody has a gun and he knows it. So that's kind of like, the more people that have guns legally, of course, I think the less that people will be inclined to pull any funny business. I know I would be, I'd be like, man, I really want to pull a gun out here. There's a lot of people here. It looks like they might have guns. You know what I mean? So I could really see that as being an important thing as we move along here with this national gun debate.
Hmm. Yeah, and you know, it's a cliche, but you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that too.
you know,
It- It's a cliche, but it's so applicable. It's so applicable. And like I said, I love to see. Um, there's a lot of people that not a lot of people, but I know a few people that here in Virginia that and I'm actually born in Texas, so I'm a Texan uh, by birth, and I know a lot of people that their family rule is to get their kid, um, a 30-30 on their 10th birthday. They get a real firearm when they turn 10, boy or girl. That's their 10th birthday present. That's the point at which they start becoming aware of firearms and being responsible and being taught how to be responsible gun owners when they're 10 years old. And I think that's great.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned when I was, my dad took me out with a 22, and we did squirrel hunting and
Oh yeah.
deer hunting, and you don't, always treat a gun as it's loaded. You never
Hmm.
point it, you never fan a room.
Yep. Don't flag anybody.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a um, big proponent, and I think that it's funny they always have these things that pop up in the news that they're gonna. I remember there was something about Obama banning. It's like this. It's not gonna happen. It's just never gonna happen. You're not gonna be able to. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
It's just this is it's part of our culture as Americans to be gun owners or to choose not to be a gun owner, but don't um, give me shit for owning guns just because you don't want to,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. For sure. Um, gonna kind of go down here. My condolences to you with your father. You lost your father, I guess, back in December, and
Yes, thank you very much. Thank
and
you.
and I lost my mom back in July, so
Condolences to you as well.
I kind of and actually we just we we just lost my mother-in-law in November, and it's just wasn't a good year.
No, it hasn't been a good year at all this year. It's all the famous people that we know and love dying at the beginning of this year, and then when family members die, it's just like this constant, like, oh, you this constant reminder that you're not going to be here forever. And my dad was sick for a while. He had um, cancer from Agent Orange exposure in Vietnam, and he was very proud of his service in Vietnam, and he was a soldier till his last moments. And he lived that life, and he loved it, and he was very proud of what he did over there, despite the way he was treated when he came back. As we all know, the Vietnam veterans were not treated well when they came back,
Right.
and neither was my father. And so it was that was a tough one, man. My dad has always been a large presence in my life, and he would come to Sundog shows and Kick shows, and he would sit up in the balcony and he would just sit there and watch, and he would just be almost in tears with pride when I would see him after the show, and it really meant a lot to me. And because he doesn't care about that kind of music, he doesn't know that stuff. he, he told me the most recent time he was like, I think I like the Rush stuff a little better than Kicks because I can understand the words a little better. I
Yeah,
was like, and he's
they're
like,
proud of they're proud of us. It's just
yes, yeah, yeah. So he's getting buried at Arlington on April 15th, which is tax day, which he would find very humorous because he always hated paying taxes. He's like, "Ah, I can't believe they're," so he would probably say something along the lines of, he's been getting buried with taxes his whole life, and now he's getting buried on tax day, the ultimate insult. So he would have a good laugh about that for sure. So
yeah. It's just the now. Did he live with you, or was he close to you?
no,
Or
he lived. My parents live up in Gettysburg. My mom is still alive and doing well, and my mom's um, amazingly, my mom is still alive. She had polio when she was a child. She had lung cancer, had a lung removed, and then she had, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 years ago, she had double heart attacks where she had to be airlifted.
oh
So
wow.
I think my mom is invincible. I think she'll probably outlive me. She'll be, 115, and I'll die at 85 or something.
Yeah, but
So
you
my
just
mom's pretty tough.
I guess the reason I ask is you just I'm sure you can relate. You miss the phone calls, you miss the this happened or that happened, and
Yeah, yeah, for sure. My dad was he was a daily texter. He would text me and my brother when he got up in the morning, and just reaching out. Sometimes you text him back. Sometimes I'll call him tonight. And then you end up calling and having a short conversation. And my dad was a big Steelers fan, and so I would make sure I watch all the Steelers games. So we had that in common to talk about. He was
yep,
always a big Steelers fan because they're from Erie, so the closest football team is either, you got Buffalo on one side, Cleveland on the other, or in the 70s you had the Super Steelers. So who do you pick? You got to pick the Steelers, right? So I was a Steelers indoctrinated since I was very, very young. And but yeah, I miss my dad a lot. I think about him most of the day, every day. He's always there, and it's the great thing about Arlington is he's going to get a full military honors burial, and it's a hero's burial, and if you've never been to a service in Arlington, it'll bring tears to your eyes. Even if the person is not related to you, it is an amazing thing. And the thing that sucks about it is that you know he died December 5th, and he's not getting buried till April because they're so backed up at Arlington. So it's like the family has to sort of dive back into that grief pool again, that, we've already started this healing process. And then, like the other day, my mom sent the headstone approval over, and I'm like, oh, I was somewhere where I didn't really need to see that. I was around other people. And I was like, oh, I can't look at that right now. It's fucking me up, excuse me. Sorry.
no, that's
Uh,
all right. Yeah,
so, you know,
And Facebook's another. And then I don't mean to interrupt you, but Facebook's another thing that just memory. I was friends with my mom on Facebook, and I don't know,
yeah,
but you get the memories thing, and it's just like, oh no.
I know. And you see, I always start feathering through those photos, and I'm like, I have to stop myself. I have to. And the cool thing, I don't know if did you memorialize her Facebook?
Yes, I did.
Did. Okay. I'm getting ready to do that to my father's. I want to put the announcement for his burial out probably tomorrow, probably Monday, and make sure that all his friends see it and all my friends see it. So I'll put that out on his Facebook, and then I'll memorialize it and just leave it alone. So it's good to, you know, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You see those photos, and you're like, oh, that was so great, and you're just like, man, that's it.
It's not going to happen
There's
again.
no, you can't get it back. It's all up here, and the photos are helpful. It's nice to, see them when they were vibrant and healthy, and
Right.
just the way that you always want to remember them.
Right.
So
And I choose to take the happy side of it. That I mean,
yeah,
it's you can't. I mean, you can't go down the depressive
you
way.
can't live there forever.
Yeah.
You gotta move on because that's what they would want you to do. They would
Ex
be like, hey,
ex
don't worry about me. I lived my life. You
exactly
know,
right.
my
That's
life
exactly.
is over. So I know my dad would be, don't pay attention to me. Don't worry about me. I'm gone. You can't bring me back. So just keep going. I know he would say that. So
Yep.
That's what I've been trying to do. Easier said than done, though. I can tell you that.
That is for sure. Yep. Especially the texts and the phone calls and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the the phone technology definitely brought everybody closer because you can just throw out a quick text, hey, Dad, I love you, I miss you, and instead of having a set aside time for a full conversation, you can put those little things out there that remind them that you're thinking of them, and I really enjoyed that with my father.
Right. Right. Yep. All right, Mark. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. It was a great conversation. I think
Yes.
I can actually relate to a lot of your life. So.
Yeah, yeah, same here, same here. So yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Um, I appreciate any chance to talk to anybody who's interested in anything I'm doing, anything that the band is doing and, anything in my personal life. I really enjoy doing these things. So thanks for having me.
Yes, sir, for sure. And we'll be back to M3 this year. So
Oh, good. Okay.
I'll come through the line of the meet and greet line and
Okay.
and say hi to you. So
Yeah, I'll see you then. I'll see you then. That'll be great. We can't wait. We're excited for M3. So, yeah, we're very excited. Next week, if I could plug a couple things,
sure, absolutely.
KIX is in Charlotte at Amos's South End, and March, if you don't mind me
No, go right ahead. Take your time.
being rude and grabbing my calendar here. I try not to touch my phone when I'm having conversations with other people. Um, then um, let's see, we play a private gig at Tally Ho. Then on March 27th, Sundogs is playing the Jefferson Theater in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh,
So
okay.
that will be a full evening of Rush. Um, and then KIX is playing at the Lamp Theater in Irwin, PA on the 28th. And then on the 3rd of April, we're at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. I'm sure everybody knows where that is. And then we're back on the 10th at Starland Ballroom on the 4th Greasy Luck Brew Pub I think that's in Rhode Island. And then we're at Club XL in Harrisburg again on the 11th, which we love. We love playing there. And we're super excited to be back to Starland Ballroom in Jersey. A lot of times, Jersey is difficult to, there's not as many clubs as there used to be. And Starland is, a classic venue. It's a beautiful venue. I love playing there. And maybe we can talk Eddie Trunk into getting up off his chair and coming out. Hey, sometimes we see Florentine there. It's good to see our Jersey friends there. That's the one place where, all of our Jersey friends can come out and really have an excellent venue to see the band.
So much rock started there. I mean, in Jersey. I mean,
Yeah,
Bon Jovi.
Springsteen. I mean,
Springsteen, yeah.
George Thorogood. I mean, there's so many good. It's so funny. A lot of the New York bands they call themselves New York bands, but nobody lived in New York, couldn't afford it. They were Jersey bands. They come across the river.
Trickster guys are from that area.
Oh yeah, we see those guys a lot. We just saw Steve on the cruise. He got up and did. He was on one of those jam nights. He's a beast, man. Steve is
Yeah, another one of
something else.
those. Yeah, another one of those freak of nature
Yeah,
guitar players.
yeah.
Yeah,
Steve's phenomenal. I
yeah,
love that
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he speaking of, I didn't, and it was closing off there, but Danger Danger. He played for Danger Danger there last year.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was funny because I was sitting there with my wife. We were jamming. It looks like Steve Brown up there. That's
yeah,
sure enough.
yeah. We'll be playing. We'll get to a festival, and he'll be there, and none of his bands are on the bill. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, who are you
Yeah.
playing with now? I think he played with the singer from Mr. Big last time we saw him at a festival in Florida. Not probably this past summer, I think. And it was like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm playing with Eric. Wow, what a surprise. When are you going out with Def Leppard again? Because he plays with the
Oh
Def
yeah.
Leppard when Vivian was sick. But he's a beast, man. He can do anything. I love that guy.
And the guy does not stop.
No,
He's one of the most
no,
high-strung people I've ever
he
met.
loves it. He loves it. He just can't. You could just tell he's keyed up, man. He's just like, you never see him not smiling. That guy's never bummed out,
Yep, for sure.
So,
All
well,
right, Mark. Well, I'll
thanks
see.
for having me again. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I appreciate your time. So, and I will again. I'll see you here in a couple months there at
Yep,
May. So,
couple months, pretty close.
yep.
I'll see you then, man.
All
Thanks
right.
again.
Yep. Take care of yourself.
All right.
All right, everybody. Let me kill the audio off of here. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in here. A special edition here today of Robert's Report. Of course, Mark Schechner. There's Schenker. I'm sorry, I already misspelled or mispronounced your name, Eric. Got it right the first time and screwed up in the end. So, but anyway, I appreciate his time. This video will be up on YouTube, so if you would like to go back and watch it again, feel free along with some other videos. And I'm actually going to be taking next week off, and now I'm going to pull out my calendar. March 15th will be the next time that I will be on. I have Psycho Joe Mack from Bare Knuckle Fighting will be on the show. Looking forward to that. We're going to talk some MMA and some more rock and roll with him. So looking forward to that. And we got some other things coming up too. You can go on Robert's Report event to check that out. Otherwise, I'm going to, I've got some roast beef in the smoker, and we're going to go enjoy that. So everybody have a great Sunday afternoon and a great evening and have a great week. I'll catch you back after vacation. Peace out. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. See you, Mark. See you in just a couple days, but it'll be on there.